is one to which we don't have the answer.
Mason raised his eyebrows.
I went to lunch at 12:15,
Della said.
As you know, Gertie and I stagger the lunch hour. I grab a bite and am back by 12:45. Then Gertie goes out and stays until 1:30, while I keep an eye on the switchboard.
Go ahead, Mason said.
Well, you know Gertie. She's incurably romantic. If she ever pays any attention to a client, she'll work up a whole story around that client. During the noon hour, when there are very few calls coming in at the switchboard, and people seldom call at the office, Gertie starts reading love stories and eating chocolate creams.
Mason grinned. And then she tells me how she's watching her weight.
Of course,
Della said, smiling.
And now she has convinced herself that it's a scientific fact a little sweet before meals will kill her appetite and she won't eat so much. She says that our dietary habits are backwards. That we eat a meal and then eat a sweet, that we should eat a sweet and...
I know, I've heard Gertie expound her theories before. Let's get back to the mystery. You've aroused my interest.
Well, Gertie was reading this love story. She had just come to the most interesting passage, and I think she was reading with one eye and looking out for clients with the other. She said that within 5 minutes after I had left the office, this woman came in and was terribly agitated. She said she had to see you right away. Gertie told her that you were out to lunch, that you seldom saw people without an appointment, that you might not be back before 2:30, and that you had a 2:30 appointment. The woman was almost hysterical. She said, never mind, I'll wait. He'll see me. I don't want to leave this office until I've arranged to have him protect me. I want Mr. Mason to look after my interests, and I want him to get a good private detective.
And then what? Mason asked.
Then Gertie asked her name and address, and the woman gave the name of Mrs. Hastings and said her present address wasn't important. So Gertie wrote down the name and went back to a magazine reading. The woman sat down in that big chair by the window. After a few minutes, the woman got up and started pacing the floor. Then she said, I'll be back in a minute or two, opened the door and stepped out in the corridor.
And then? Mason asked.
That's all,
Della Street said.
She never came back.
Oh, well, Mason said. She'll be showing up any minute now. What did she look like, Della?
Gertie was a little vague. She said that she had an aristocratic bearing, a good figure, a well-modulated voice, and slender, tapering fingers. She thinks she was about 32 or 33 years old, but the woman was wearing huge dark glasses, and Gertie couldn't tell very much about her features. Gertie told me that she was wearing the dark glasses because she had been crying. I asked her how she knew, and she said, well, she thought the tone of the woman's voice indicated that she'd been crying. It had a sort of rasp to it.
Leave it to Gertie, Mason said. Aristocratic bearing, slender, tapering fingers, well-modulated voice. Do you suppose, Della, that by any chance Gertie has transposed the description of the heroine in the love story she was reading to our client?
I wouldn't put it past her,
Della said.
Gertie's usually pretty observing, but during the noon hour, when she's reading one of those love stories, she's got her head way up in the pink clouds.
Well, Mason said, looking at his watch, we'll have time to do a little more work on these proposed instructions for the jury, which I want to submit to the judge in the case that's coming up next week.
There are a couple of very important letters which have been hanging fire,
Della Street suggested.
They should go out today.
All right, Mason sighed. Get the letters. I know what that means, however. You'll bring in a stack of mail 18 inches high. Get the 2 urgent letters off the top and then tell me I really should run through the rest of the correspondence. Della Street smiled, left the office, and a few moments later was back, carrying a woman's black handbag. What's this? Mason asked.
This, she said, is something.
Shoot, Mason said.
I went to the mail file back in the stenographic office, and in coming back through the reception room, noticed this bag in back of the big chair by the door. I asked Gertie if it was hers, and she said no, she hadn't seen it before. I asked her who had been in the office carrying a handbag, and after a few moments she decided it must have been this mysterious woman who called during the noon hour. The bag was right by the chair she had been occupying.
Mason extended his hand, and Della Street gave him the purse. Well, Mason said thoughtfully, that's rather odd. She said she was going out for a few minutes, that she felt she was in some danger. Then she didn't come back, and it turns out she left her handbag. Of course, we don't know it's hers.
Think we should look in it?
Della Street asked.
It's heavy enough it could be full of gold coin.
Mason regarded the exterior of the bag thoughtfully, then said, I think I'll open it and see if there's a name and address, Della. The lawyer opened the bag, started to reach in, then jerked his hand back.
What is it?
Della Street asked. Mason hesitated a moment, then, taking a handkerchief...